Hi there, and welcome to the Anita Chat podcast. I'm your host, Anita Rombo, and this is the podcast for growth-oriented women to have authentic, real talk. Nothing is off the table here, but as an intuitive self-relationship coach, you'll find the content gravitates towards mindset, intentional action, spirituality, and all things wellness. So if you're ready to learn, laugh, show up, and glow up to be the best version of yourself, grab your favorite bevy, settle in, and we've got lots to chat about.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of I Need to Chat. I can't believe it's the first day of June already. I don't know about you, but that just crept up on me. And all of a sudden, after 2 years of quiet due to COVID, things seem like they're really starting to ramp up, and I'm loving every single minute of it. For one, I've now officially transitioned from being a hockey mom to a soccer mom. So there's a lot of evenings spent at the park. The kids are super excited and counting down the days to summer break. Birthdays and wedding season is in full swing, and I've made it to the golf course a couple of times already. And very near and dear to my heart, I have resumed my passion of gardening. Over the past 2 weekends, the weather here in Ontario has been very pleasant, and I've been spending a lot of time in my garden just kind of getting it set up, right? So doing the weeding and the mulching and going to the greenhouse and picking up my vegetables and my flowers and my herbs, etc. I really love engaging with nature through my garden. I find it to be a very peaceful and calm and meditative activity. And when I was in the garden this past weekend, I had some realizations, just life lessons that I'm sure you've heard about. Definitely, if you tune into this podcast, you've heard these messages before, but they were reinforced to me through my gardening experiences. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to share those reflections back with you because we could all use a friendly reminder. So that will be the motivation inspiration for today's chat. But before I get into this episode, I just wanted to take this opportunity once again to thank you for tuning into this podcast episode. And if you like this podcast, would you be so kind as to share it with a friend and or possibly rate it on Apple? As a solopreneur content creator like me, this episode is not funded or sponsored in any way, shape, or form. This podcast is really something that I'm truly enjoying putting in the time, effort, energy, and resources into. And if you appreciate it, it would go a long way to show me that. Thank you so very much. All right, so let's get back to what I've learned from my garden. One of the things that really kind of struck me this past weekend was the fact that each plant thrives in different conditions. You know, there's always some sort of instructions in terms of what kind of sunlight it would prefer, what kind of moisture, pH level. Even, for example, if you're planting a particular vegetable, some of them thrive better if they're planted beside another vegetable versus another one. So there's a particular rhyme or reason that helps something flourish. Just like the plants, that was a wonderful reminder that we too have different conditions in which we thrive and we flourish. And as part of our own journey to self-discovery and our own journey in terms of personal development, it's important to know what those conditions are. Some people flourish in challenging, chaotic, dynamic conditions, whereas other people like predictable and slower and more stable conditions. And nothing is right or wrong. It's about recognizing what works for you and then optimizing your environment to create those types of conditions so that you can flourish when it comes to your own goals or visions. Another thing that kind of struck me this past weekend, and I know it's a no-brainer, but these plants all have their own different seasons. This weekend as well, we kicked off our farmers market opening, and we went to the farmers market. And it was very evident that all the vendors had similar crops to offer for purchase. And that's simply because those were the vegetables that were in season. How I apply that to us is that we too have our own seasons where we're going to come and bloom and we're going to be at our peak. And we might at times want to compare ourselves to other people. You know, just realize that they are in their season and your season too will come. And as part of this whole gardening mission this past weekend and getting everything to a great spot, me and my daughter went to the greenhouse a couple of times. We're fortunate to be living in a place where there's a lot of greenhouses nearby. And we spent a ton of time there. And it was simply because we were so indecisive. Both of us find this to be our happy spot. We love going up and down those aisles and looking at all these beautiful planters and different colors. And oh my God, there's so much beauty. And it's really, really difficult to decide, what do I want to bring home with me? I want them all. You know, even when we figured out that we were interested in this particular hanging basket that comes in 20 colors, and then we narrowed it down to one color, we still had about 50 to choose from of that hanging basket in that one particular color. And between her and I, we were still equally as confused because we could still find different nuances between each and every one of those baskets. And so that is the take-home point that I want us to remind ourselves of again. And when it comes to us, we are all so very beautiful in our own ways, and it's impossible to compare us to each other. So once again, a friendly reminder to stay in our lane and to embrace our unique beauty for what it is and recognize that our time will come. And once we plant ourselves in those right conditions. There's two things I love that are most gratifying about this whole gardening process. And one is the weeding and one is reaping the harvest. So I want to take a second to talk about both of those. When it comes to weeding, what I really love about it is getting right in there and just pulling it out. And it's like these monstrous things underneath. And if left to their own devices, these weeds can really take over your lawn. Planting our garden is not a one and done kind of thing, right? Over the last 2 weekends, I spent a lot of time kind of getting everything set up. And that's probably the heavy lifting that I have to do. But moving forward, I want to show up and I want to water it and I want to make sure that, I'm fertilizing it every now and then. And I want to make sure I'm weeding it. Because if I let that one weed fester, it's going to take over the whole entire garden. And having said that, think of a weed, a seed of doubt or a negative belief or some sort of bad habit. Whatever your vision, dream, or goal, things are going to crop up. Distractions are going to crop up. Think of those as weeds. It's really important to tackle them one at a time rather than let those distractions or excuses or seeds of doubt build up on each other, because pretty soon they're going to take away all the time, effort, and energy and hard work that you've done and detract from the growth of the crop or the garden. So whenever weed looks like it's poking through, it's really important to identify it and tackle it right away, to literally upend it and uproot it and toss it aside. So figure out what the block is and get on it right away so that you can continue to move forward. And so I had also mentioned that the other end of gardening that I really enjoy is obviously getting the harvest. And I'm sure that you too would love a garden that's in full bloom, or you would love to be able to make a salad out of the vegetables that you grew or whatnot. But another thing that I took from that is really, it's just wonderful to be able to create something from start to finish, to be able to, whatever your dream, vision, or goal is, it all starts with a seed, an idea that you plant and that you invest your time, your effort, your energy, right? When it comes to a garden, it might be watering it, fertilizing it, making sure it gets the right sun. So putting it in those optimal conditions to eventually get some fruit of your labor. It's eventually so great to be able to see where you've come, but each and every stage of growth of that vegetable, that plant, of that flower is beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to watch its progress. So there's something so gratifying to be said for the process of creation, to be able to see something grow right before your eyes and something that you tend to. And that also goes to show that energy flows where attention goes. If you do show up and you do tend to your garden, you will see results. And so, my friends, I think that's what I got for today. I hope you enjoyed this short and totally impromptu podcast episode inspired by my garden. And I hope that you can take from it that you are beautiful and unique, and your dreams and visions are worthy of your time, of your effort, of your energy. And that if you show up, things will come to fruition in the right time and in the right conditions. And of course, don't let that negative stuff fester in your garden for too long. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Anita Chat podcast. If you haven't taken a minute to leave a review, I would absolutely love to hear from you. All you need to do is to search for the show, click your star rating, and type in a few words. Also, if there's a specific topic you'd like to see covered in this podcast, if you'd like me to be your coach, or if you want to just chat, feel free to send me an email or shoot me a message through my IG, which you'll find in the show notes. The show notes will also contain any links to the freebies that were referenced in this episode. Until next time, friends, it's been great chatting with you.